Is keeping an eye on our rainfall totals. Rainfall, a lot of rain out there in some areas right now, Bobby.
Yeah, and that's what's causing a lot of what we're seeing when they're turning off those systems there because of look, most systems can't handle it. Doesn't matter how old it is. Most systems just can't handle that much. So a lot going on this map. Let me start here. Those right there, this right here, Bradenton, Sarasota, that's a new one. That's a flash flood warning. Pinellas has been in it for a couple of hours. This one's about an hour and a half old, and this one just started. The greens that you see here, Hannah was up in Hernando County. This is the river here. It's 9 foot now. Thinking by Saturday, it goes to almost 16 feet. Out of the banks at 12 feet, okay? So that is the timing that happens with the river floods, and that's all these greens that you see here. They will be swelling through Friday, through Saturday. Cresting maybe over the weekend if we're lucky. Okay, so that's one thing there. Now, let's talk about the rainfall. And that's our newest flash flood warning there. This is part of that northeast eye wall. That's some of the heaviest rain that you're going to get. The winds are really picking up in there as well, and that will continue to move inland as the storm itself moves inland. Rainfall totals. Now, this is estimated by the Doppler, 7 to 8 inches, a little bit more right along the immediate coast so far. And some of the heaviest rain is just getting here, okay? And then we've got generally around 4 to 6 along and just east of 75, and then a little less the way you work further off towards the east, okay? And so the heaviest rain, the center is going to come in down somewhere around here, probably maybe north of Sarasota, but look where all the rain is. The heaviest is to the north, and that's been well forecast, and I think that trend will continue. So that's going to move off to the north and east. So that means St. Pete. That means Tampa. You know it rains heavy here and Bayshore floods. Bayshore is going to flood, right? They're right down there on the bay. And then we actually are going to continue that going up through Sonoma-Sassa, up through Plant City. Dade City, we're going to get quite a bit of rain out of this as well. Totals now, you can see 7 to 8 here, probably going to end up in that 10 to 15 range, probably closer to 10 to 12, I would say. But it's going to be north of where that center goes on shore. Now let's talk about the center. So the center now has about a 48 to 50 mile wide eye with it, okay? This started at 3.8 miles diameter eye, and it had 180 miles. This was off of Yucatan. The system is weakening, but it is also spreading out its wind field, okay? So we actually have less wind in that eye wall, but you're spreading it out, and not only are you getting that wind a little bit further out, but you're also, that tropical storm force wind is extending way out. I'll show you that coming up. But that's the eye wall coming through. So what this means is if it comes through right in here, you're going to get this very heavy rain you're getting now in Sarasota, and then the rain's going to stop. And in fact, the wind's going to go calm. Maybe not calm, but it's going to be very light as it comes through. And then you'll get the backside. And I'm telling you, this backside, because you're focused on this, you're like, oh, here comes the eye wall. It's coming right at us. Oh, and it gets really bad. And then you think, okay, here's the eye wall. Here's the eye, so the winds go calm, and then we're going to get the backside. The backside on the west coast of Florida is sometimes going to have even more wind because that wind's coming in off of the Gulf, and there's nothing to slow it down. If you're sitting here in downtown Sarasota, that wind's got to come across land and come up. And that land creates some friction. Fiction or friction. It creates some friction, and so that kind of slows it down just a little bit. There's nothing to do that. And look what's happening out here. You see that structure right there? You see those reflectivities? That's indicating some really good storms out there, some good wind in there as well. So that's going to be happening as we go through tonight. Now, hurricane force winds extend out from the center about 35, 40 miles. And you can see that is just about reaching the coast right now. And in fact, it's in that band. So that's where you're getting solid winds in the 70s right now with gusts that are going to be higher than that. All right, and then again, what I've been showing you on the radar here is that this part of the core here, this has shown some of the higher winds. And you can parallel this right along that line right there. So the mouth of the bay, Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, very heavy winds. But here's the deal. The wind's coming from the northeast to the southwest. If it was coming the other way down here, oh man, I can't imagine how much water would be pushing up into the bay. That's worst case scenario. This is pulling water out of the bay right now. Although the tide's coming up at the same time, it's fighting it, but that water level is going to be low. And everything I've seen so far is low in Tampa Bay. Very good news there. Now, tropical storm force winds. go out 225 miles from the center. And you can see from that same spot all the way out into the Atlantic Ocean. So generally you got winds in the 40s for most of these locations, most of Florida at this point, right? Remember those tornadic cells that we had earlier? They're all over the East Coast. Let me turn this on. Let me get the see if I got lightning on here, because there's some really good storms over on the East Coast. Yeah, dude, let me turn that on for you. Big time storms over there. Look at that. Look at those cells that just went off the coast. Fort Pierce, Palm Bay, all those areas dealing with the very heavy thunderstorms, tornado warnings over there as well. I'm curious to see what kind of damage they get out of there. And this is what, 200 miles away from the center? And that's just those cells that went through kind of in our neck of the woods. Now, here's the highest winds now going to around 123. Now, this is not at the ground where we are, okay? But it's not that far up, and it's right in this area here. So our concern is, where is this going? And obviously, because it's the northern side, we think it's coming right in here. Southern Pinellas, probably pretty close. I mean, right over Apollo Beach, Ruskin, and then right up over Fishhawk. Love Fishhawk, beautiful neighborhood, lots of trees. Let's hope that they hold. And then you get up into parts of Polk County as well. Now, the winds will be higher here, a little less here, a little less here. But that's going to be the track where I think we get some of the highest winds coming through. Look at the size of this thing. From one side to the other, at least 400 miles. And you can see actually the drier air coming in. The one good news with this is that part of what is pushing it out to the east now is a cold front that's been sitting up here. And because of the flow around this, it's pulling in some drier and cooler air. And on the back side of this storm, it's not going to be like Helene, where we had the 90s. We were tying records, 93, 94 degrees and hot. But on the back side, it's going to be cooler, low 80s. If that, lows will be in the 60s in the morning as we get going into the weekend, Friday and into the weekend. Do have the tornado watch. They've actually trimmed it back for our southern counties. We'll talk more on that, but our tornado chances are coming down. Our wind chances are going up. Highest winds now through about midnight, and then slowly coming down. And I mean slowly. It's going to be windy all night long, but we'll be slowly coming down towards sunrise tomorrow morning, guys.